Hello, friends. My name's host Eric. I'm Hamza, and I'm here to live stream to you today. Do you need a new path? Is your old path all worn out? You tired of walking the old path? Do you need a new path? That's the question. If you did, what would it look like? How would it differ from your current path? How does one determine whether a path is worthy of one's own greatness or not? How much greatness can one determine oneself to have anyway? Can we all be objective, unbiased evaluators of our own greatness? I rank mine at 1,000,000. How about you? 5,000,000? That's not fair. That's 5 times as much as me. Joe Shabadoo found a new path, but is not sure it's the right one. Okay, good. Now we're getting on topic here. How many pounds of cheese you eat? By how many pounds of cheese you eat? That's the determination whether or not it's the right new path? That's a good possibility. Good criterion. No, because we can't predict every outcome of our actions. We can only see the pattern of the wake. Well, just because you can't predict every outcome of your actions doesn't mean you can't make some meaningful predictions. For example, I may not be able to predict every outcome of every action, but I can predict if I jump off this building, there's a very high likelihood I'm going to die if it's over a certain height, right? So there are some things we know not to do. There are some things that are probably a really bad idea, like going up to your boss first thing in the morning and going, "Hey, I fucked the shit out of your wife last night." Probably not a good idea, even if it's a joke. Female ENTP, number one problem. I'm stuck in this fucking body. What's wrong with your body? Works fine. You are ambulatory, meaning you can walk, move around, you can swing both arms. You've got nose, lips, ears, the whole face. You've got all the appropriate parts of the body, I suppose, for women, and you got the general use parts like, butthole, like men do too. It all depends on the goal, I guess. If anal destruction be the goal, then so be it. If anal destruction is not the goal, you need to reset your goals. But really, you should refer to it by its formal name, anal wreckage. Sometimes referred to as anal Armageddon. Analgeddon. Sarah Keelion is here. Portal closage. Portal closage. Portal closage. Nobody's going to shut my portal. No one's going to shut my portal no matter how hard they try. I'm creating a new sexual deviancy clubs with blackjack and hookers. Well, let's see here. Is that a specific? Is it like gambling sex? Is it some sort of combination deviancy? If you lose a blackjack, you have to have sex with a prostitute? That sounds unsanitary. Melandrix, if you want to be my lover, you've got to get with my friends, as per the Spice Girls. Sex isn't necessarily a sin, Melandrix. Within the bonds of holy matrimony, it's encouraged to make more new people. So it's a somewhat serious question, topic today. I mean, I think the original sin is pride. Pride's the root of all sin, in some sense. I mean, you could say sloth does not emerge from pride, but in a way it does. It says, I'm going to indulge my My subjective inclinations. You think dishonesty is the one? Dishonesty itself isn't really a state of being, uh, so much as a descriptor of a linguistic, or deceit would be better than dishonesty, I guess. Deceitfulness. Deceitfulness? Yeah, maybe deceitfulness. I think the original sentence to act without knowing or something like that. That's very anti-SE of you. That is a root evil. Ignorance or pride. I mean, a root evil is lack of imagination as well. If you're like a Nazi or something in World War II and you're all in favor of killing the Jews, to a certain extent, that's a lack of imagination, an inability to recognize the legitimate differences of others or something like that. Act like knowing would be another form of deceit. Act like knowing? What do you mean? I mean, acting like you know more than you do? That would probably be pride or just deceit, you know. But, I mean, I think pride is the number one problem area. Sin, maybe. No, pride is not thinking you are more than you are, or afraid of how less you are than you want to be. No, that's not pride. That's not pride. Pride is pride is
when you dress up in a rainbow leotard and wave a dildo around.
That's pride. But pride is when you think you don't have to try your hardest anymore. That's pride. That's pride. When you think you don't have to be accountable, that's pride. When you think you don't have to face the universal truths, that's pride. When you think you don't have to face the TI objective truths, that's pride. When you think you don't have to factor in FI authenticity, that's pride. Whatever it is, you know, it's like, well, I don't have to do that because I'm important, or I'm smarter than they are, or whatever. You might be smarter than they are. The pride doesn't come from it being false. You're not necessarily being deceitful. It comes from tempting the Slavs. Pride is something that's punished directly by God because it's the only reason we can think of it as being sinful. Being correct about one's own greatness in comparison to others or something is not deceitful if it's true. You know, but it's still sinful. And it's sinful because God doesn't like it. God doesn't like people taking credit for Slav shit, you know? The best you can do is say, I did an effective job of wrangling these Slavs this occasion as they emerged in front of me. You can't forever pretend like you're controlling the Slavs, because then they'll fucking smash you like a bug. Female ENTP says, I just discussed accountability last night, and I said that was one aspect that I don't think is as important as people say, but I know it is important for others. I slide by. I mean, accountability is / humility, which are two of the same thing, basically, are preconditions for growth. You cannot grow without sacrificing pride. That's my experience, anyway. That doesn't mean I'm not still prideful in a lot of ways, but I am careful to. Careful with my language. Put it that way. In terms of Enneagram, deceit and vanity go hand in hand for type 3, while type 2 is pride in persona. I mean, I would say that, you know, in Enneagram, you're talking about 2, 3, and 4 all being strategies of defending against shame. And, you know, my way of defending against shame is basically my way is right, and everybody else, if they disagree with me, is wrong. Now, the thing is, I have another way of dealing with shame, which is the healthy way of dealing with it, really, which is being objectively self-critical. which is to say, if they're right, then I will concede they're right and try to make amends in some way. And if they're wrong, I will insist that, despite the fact that other people agree with them, I am still correct. So, have I shed my pride? I mean, it's an ongoing ontological developing narrative arc. It's like I try my best to avoid the more obvious pride traps that are going to get the slabs against me, and that's really the best I can do. As far as my feelings, see, it's hard for me to even think about being proud, except in terms now of expressive language. I guess I get the feeling of what it feels like to be proud, but I don't feel it outside of the language, even if the language is just set inside my head. And I don't usually spend time doing that anymore, which you would call mauling the glory, for example, is a form of a pride wallow that can be satisfying, especially to the third person, where you think back on some experience that went really well and you got a lot of props for or whatever, and you sort of go over that over, get it in your head, and you just feel like, yeah, it's juicy. I really don't do that much anymore. Almost never, if ever. I can't think of doing it anytime recently. I used to do it when I was younger. But whatever. I mean, I might do it again. If I had a gig, I'd probably do it again. When I play a gig, I think about it a lot of times afterwards, how it went. Another thing that I return to my SI a lot is the time I went down to the Pomona City and told my story to the city risk manager and this investigator, and some lawyer was there or whatever. That's an experience I return to in my SI memory a lot because it's juicy for me. It's like I feel a lot of satisfaction at how that whole thing played out. So that's what I'm saying. Skin and light seems like those are relative to something in the field of pride, since you stated it that way. Skin and light? Yeah. Pride can be shrunk or grown, but not removed completely. Well, again, you got to kind of decide what you want to refer to as pride. Is pride an emotion? The emotional state of feeling proud about something? Is it an expression of language that's inadequately attentive to egalitarian concerns? I look very tired. I'm not actually tired. It must just be the lighting. I got a good night's sleep last night. I took a long nap yesterday. I'm at the end of sleepy week, so I'm not tired at all, actually. Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well, says John Henry. Thanks, John. You too, says Sarah Kellyonian. Female ENTP. So when I think of opposite of light, pride, I think of dark. So isolation and opposite of skin, pride is hiding. So isolation and hiding is a clue to someone having problems with pride, maybe. I do agree that hiding, pride correlates with showing off. The opposite of showing off is being private or hiding yourself, or being calculated, I guess would be a better way of putting it. But a prideful person is going to be expressive in a couple of different ways. I'm in certain kinds of pride I'm not worried about particularly. Like things that I wouldn't really call pride. I would call something else like objective reality or whatever. Like if you want to talk to me about teaching or something like that, I'll tell you in no qualified terms at all, completely unqualified terms, that I'm a particularly effective, very effective, good teacher, right? Then I'll tell you that I'm much better than 99% of teachers, and that I know what I'm doing in a way that I want me more like I want this wall behind. This wall is better, right?
You want this wall?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I still want to sit where I'm sitting. That's not really possible.
No, you can.
I move
your chair here.
Hold on. I got an idea. There, this is looking pretty good.
Okay.
There.
That works.
I just need to move a little bit this way. Okay. What about those who show off while hiding themselves? I'm not sure who shows off while hiding themselves. You could say that like a troll does that, right? Like the people come in here and start trying to start shit with me or whatever, trying to establish FE dominance with bullshit. You know, those people you could say are hiding while showing off. They're not revealing their identity because they know they're not going to succeed. You know, so but they're trying to show up anyway. But I'd say it's more like sniping from the shadows. It's a little different than the problem is this shit over there. You know, I just need like a blank wall like that behind us. It's better.
That stuff doesn't really need to be there.
Yeah, and the thing is, I am not good at this set making shit, you know, and lighting and camera and stuff because it just ends up pissing me off. It's like, why are we doing this? What's going on here with this shit? What does this matter? It has nothing to do with what I'm saying. Yeah. But it can be a defense mechanism a lot of time, I think. Well, one of the things I said a lot to Kimberly before is that her stubborn pride is what was getting in between us and having a healthy relationship. Now, I would note that pride, what I'm calling pride or stubbornness or unwillingness to ever be in the vulnerable position between two people was not born of arrogance, right? It's a pride that is born of defensiveness. It's born of fear. So there are different kinds of pride, you know. I probably misnamed it pride when I said she's unwilling to do that. But regardless, you know, things are way different now between me and Kimberly. Way different. After July 4th, everything's been way different. All of a sudden, we're able to communicate. You know, she still plays her little games with me. I don't understand what it is, though. It's like there's something that makes Kimberly just want to fucking pick at me a lot of times. Like, be like, oh, and here's a lesson about how shitty you are. You should learn from this. It's like, why are you doing that? I have no explanation for it. Being humble is very difficult. I'll be warring with my pride until my dying breath. I can't do anything good without God's help because He's the source of all that is good. Well, I find being humble decreasingly difficult because I experience more humbling things. It's like it's hard to be proud of you being like a relationship wise person when your own relationship is blowing up very publicly in front of people, right? So it's going to be hard for me to be prideful about how, listen, you guys, I know how to have a good relationship. I still say that shit, but it's not out of pride. It's out of sort of desperation. Like, come on, Kimberly. Again, not really since July 4th, but prior to that. Melandric says, glad you guys are treating it as a you versus the problem rather than versus each other. Any advice for a new relationship? I would say, you know, find out what your ground rules are. And that's really the reality. You come into a relationship thinking you're going to know what ground rules for a relationship are going in, but the reality is they're going to be determined specifically by the individual you're with and the specifics of that relationship. So there's just no getting around that. So I'd say the first ground rule for a new relationship is figure out what your ground rules are and what they're going to need to be. Find out early on what it is the other person does or doesn't do that you don't like. And get to the bottom of that right away. And take that seriously, whatever it is. Even if it seems like it's minor or something like that, you know? Take it seriously because that's the kind of shit that ends up becoming the make or break it shit later on if you don't deal with it right away. I should have dealt with a lot of shit right away that I didn't deal with, or probably should have not stayed in that relationship for as long as I did. But now I'm glad I did. So I don't know about the should there. The normative claim is going to be difficult to maintain if I feel as though it was the right thing to do now. You know, yada yada. Spacey, can you talk to the first thing while I go get myself a Coke? Do you want a Coke?
Sure. Talk to them about what?
Talk to them about something they say in the chat.
Whatever. Somebody asked earlier if something about NTPs receiving like the TE advice. Hi, Joey. I'd say a lot of we have this thing basically, I think where it comes from is that we have to figure everything out on our own, even if somebody tells us how to do it. So a lot of the time you'll see us not listening to you because we'll be like, okay, yes, I get it, but I'm really not going to understand until I do it anyway. So I don't like either of those things. I don't really like math or science that much. But me personally, I will take TE advice for some things if I have absolutely no idea. But I usually just use it as a starting point until I figure out how something works on my own. Oh shit.
I figured you might want a Sprite too. I decided to go for a Sprite first.
All right.
And so then I'm going to have a Coke after.
Fair enough.
Okay.
What's up?
We have to recreate the wheel in order to learn. It's interesting you use that expression. My dad spent much of my childhood telling me, Eric, you need to stop trying to recreate the wheel. As I would always do, being an ENTP. I don't like the way it's normally done. I want to do it my own way that I made up. Let's see. Casey is an electrician, Joe Shabadoo, but he went out to answer that phone call right now. Why is it that NT types tend to want to do something themselves and not get help? Well, it's because of extrovert intuition. We want to create the ideas. We don't want to implement ideas. We are constructive, not executive. It's true what Alexander Cruz says as well. As SI types, both INTPs and ENTPs really need to have some sort of personal experiential link to something before they'll believe it or affirm it, usually. Why is this channel called Talking with Famous People? Well, because I thought it sounded like a funny name, basically. And originally it was going to be an interview channel. Didn't end up being that, but I like the name anyway. It gives me the opportunity to refer to all the people here in the live chat, for example, as famous people. I am, in fact, talking with you. Pride tells you that you can solve problems that you can't. Pride tells me that I don't have to deal with problems that I have to deal with. That's how it works for me. You know, like, you're special, Eric, so you don't have to do this part. If I'm thinking that, then I'm in trouble. I'm in big fucking trouble. These others have just heard it, not experienced it. What is the discussion present when this live stream? What is the discussion present when? I don't understand that. We are discussing pride. We are, in fact, discussing pride. Seems like FE users dislike practical advice. Bugs me. I like practical advice, especially when I seek it. The thing is, most practical advice is offered unsought. And so, you know, if I'm seeking it, I really appreciate it. I approached my INTJ friend Jeremy to ask him about how to mix and master, what tips he would have or thoughts he would have on EQing and stuff like that. And even though I only had one conversation with him, about 15, 20 minutes long, it was massively helpful in a way that nothing else could have been. Not me Googling shit or whatever. I needed to talk to somebody who really understood what they were doing. If any is associated to a metaframe, whereas NI can only have a single frame, then why can't NFPs attain a metaframe? I'm not saying that any. Okay. So look, the thing about a metaframe, quote unquote, is NI is a universal knowing. When it's on the front stack, it wants whatever its ultimate knowledge frame to be universal. But a working metaframe is always particularist because it's a way of managing your own multiplicity of frames. So it's going to be a challenge for NI users to particularize their understanding and still find it sufficiently meaty, right? Because the thing about NI users is when things are too particularized, they find them inadequately meaty to be worth their attention in some sense. NFPs do attain a metaframe that works for them, but it's not a communicable metaframe because their metaframe is about incorporating multiple subjective frames and managing, I guess, the corresponding cognitive dissonance. Whereas my metaframe is about managing a multiplicity of frames, each of which is graded on its degree of subjectivity and understood as such. And the goal being to parse out permutations mostly, right? So because it's a process-oriented metaframe anyway, and it doesn't really have a conclusive driving, underlying prime directive, except for the one that I abstractly understand to be the prime directive, then in that regard, it's more particularist, more loose, and more of a working tool and less of a model. So what I would say is NI types don't like dynamic changing working tools because they resist NI collapsing. So, I mean, you probably have your own metaframe as NI users that is or is not what I would consider adequately responsive, right? Or adaptive. But that may be a flaw in my own metaframe and failing to recognize the equivalency or something. I don't know, because I'm not an NI user, right? So, I guess it depends on how you explain the term or how you define it. In some sense, everybody has an involuntary metaframe, which is they have some way of managing their multiplicity of frames, even when they conflict. Pride comes from polar. When you think you are the exception equals FI polar. I think pride might manifest through your polar, but not because of it. Like, I'm likely to be prideful in ways that are because I think pride's going to have some sort of utilitarian harm that's generally associated with it, even if it's inherently bad by itself, Good afternoon, Jim B. How you doing today? He says good afternoon to everyone, but I'm the one responding for everyone right now. Any tips on how to figure out your own type without help? Test yourself for polars. Look, test yourself for TI first. If you have a lot of trouble with conditional logic tests and stuff, and you don't want to consider that result in figuring out your type, then you're probably an FI tool user. Hey, female EXP, I recently decided to check out your channel due to the WSS interview. I believe you might actually be an ESFP. Just my observation. Check out the type description. See what it says. Oh, fate land. You are barking up a tree of great stubbornness here. Okay, I've been telling her she's an ESFP since shortly after I met her, but she doesn't like that reality. So we're not in that reality. That wasn't an argument, female ENTP. She just is saying, hey, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I think you might actually be an ESFP. You should check into the type descriptions yourself and see if you agree. She wasn't making an argument. She was being as nice and as pleasant in communicating a thought she had to you as she could possibly be. That's not an argument. And she's just sharing with you her thoughts about her response to you. She's not trying to justify that she's right. She's just saying that would be an argument, right? I believe, you might be an ESFP, and therefore you should as well, because my belief is a justification for something. Is not anything she said. So, why would someone want to be ISFP? I'm genuinely curious. Oh, why would someone want to be an ISFP? I mean, it's almost impossible to answer why somebody would want to be any type. Because if you are that type, you know that it's all you know. It's all you know about what being is. And so to think that you might somehow want to be another type, you're saying to yourself, I want to be a person who's described by third parties like the type description describes that. And that's just silly. Dispensable? Oh, yeah. You cannot tell someone something without having proof to back up your claims. To tell me you go breach me as a paid as I have not law. All right. Well, look, female entity. You got a following point. There's something slightly presumptuous, perhaps, about fate when presuming that you hadn't done any research into ESFP and explored the issue at all before she shared it with you. But she does say, let me see if I can quote her exactly. Hey, I've recently decided to check out your channel due to the World Socionics Society interview. So she could have said, perhaps you've heard this before or something, I'm not sure, but just in case, if you haven't, I want to share this with you. She could have offered that little bit of pre-disclaimer or something, but she didn't do anything of the sort there, right? You can tell someone something, and she has all the proof she needs. She says, I believe you're an ESFP. She has all the only evidence that there is to have about that. In other words, if she doesn't know what she believes, who's going to know better what she believes than she does? Nobody, because she's her. So that's the difference between saying I believe you're an ESFP and you are an ESFP. Note, I don't say I believe you're an ESFP. Brittany, I say you are definitely an ESFP. And any indication to the contrary is absolutely wrong. Now, you, in that instance, could say, well, you haven't supported that with anything. But, of course, I have in many, many other videos, so I'm not going to go into it now. But that would be a fair critique then, It would be fair to saying, Eric, you're making unwarranted claims. You're just asserting shit. Yeah, fair enough. You're right. I don't really want to go into why you're in ESFP right now. It's too much for a house. But that's not what Fate Win did. All right, if that's why NI users remain so abstract so they can maintain the universality of their frame, for example, everything is vibrations, yes, exactly. Boom, thank you. Pow, NI truth, pow. I actually like ISFPs. They're pretty creative and express themselves through their art, which is why most of the ISFPs I know are painters or architects. I don't think those are probably ISFPs. I don't think most ISFPs are painters or architects or any kind of art thing, although some of them are. I know one who's a painter, and I know one who likes to take photos, and they do tend to like to do some sort of visual stuff. But a lot of them are just sort of like maybe craftsmen, maybe into outdoor shit. I knew this one chick, Pio. She was an ISFP, and she was just into, sensual stuff. Oh. She had already discussed it with you prior? Okay, well, then she was playing a smooth one there. When you were playing a smooth one. Good pointing that out, Brittany. That was wise. NTPs actually get along well with SFPs if the NTPs would actually leave their rooms instead of judging them from shit they heard on the internet. Yeah, NTPs get along great with SFPs. With ISFPs. NTPs get along great with ISFPs. Until they don't. Once there's a fight between an ISFP and an ENTP, it goes nuclear because ISFPs can't listen for shit. If they've made their mind up about something, they will not hear a word you say. That'll drive the ENTP crazy. Martin L. Vibrations is more INFP, ISFP talk. You're sort of right, except everything is vibrations is more NI talk. Vibrations, you've got to be aware of vibrations amongst also your chakras and your auras and everything. That's NFP. Everything is vibrations is NI. Jim B specific. Actually, that comes from an ENTJ I know. I've never wanted to be famous. I hated the light growing up, and I had it all the time because I perform well and many things naturally with my own inherited strengths and purpose. Oh, I want to be famous. I want to be the famous person in all of famous person history. What do you think of the democratic aristocratic dichotomy and socionic legitimate? I think it accurately describes the quadra values of at least alpha and beta. I'm not sure if it does delta and gamma, which it seems to me are split on those things, but like they're half democratic, half aristocratic, it seems to me. But I definitely would agree with it for beta and alpha. Just having any proof to back claims up on this stuff is very hard. No. Depends what you're saying you're trying to prove, and it depends on what you qualify as proof, I guess. Fate Wins correcting you on that, saying that she had never given you her opinion about your type until now. Uh-oh. Piao responded with a piao. Looks like we got piaos flowing. Yes, you have. Uh-oh. Point of fact in dispute. Point of fact in dispute. Is Raul Diego an ENTP? I suspect Raul Diego is maybe an ISTJ who's got delusions about being intuitive. I'm not sure. Maybe an ESTJ? It's hard to say. It could be an ENFP. He's a weirdo, Raul Diego. Good question, though. No, I never claimed your type. I heard people's opinions, but never told you mine. Sounds like she's got you there, female ENTP. Sounds like it. Fate Wind is parsing her words carefully. I tend to trust the veracity of her language. ISFPs are fucking crazy when they argue this. Sure, I've been on their receiving end. Yeah, I know. It's like once you cross their FI, forget about it. They're going to win. You might as well just back down right away. It's not worth it. They're way more. It means way more to them than it'll ever mean to you. But ESFPs go extra, which is why I kind of like them. They pull me out of my shell. They go extra what? They go extra batshit crazy when they get alcohol in them? Yeah, I know. I am attempting to not rip you to shreds. Brittany, will you calm the fuck down? She's not doing shit. She didn't say she had a solid foundation. She was expressing her opinion about your type and telling you maybe you want to look into it some. You could legitimately say, that's kind of presumptuous to assume I haven't looked into my own type, naming myself female ENTP. That'd be fair. But whatever else, this other shit you're saying is bullshit. I like ENTP. It makes me think of eggs. I know that fame and money are byproducts of following your calling and passion. I know that fame and money are byproducts of following your calling and passion fully. Not many in their lives find that path, like the title of this show today. I mean, there's no reason to conclude that fame and money necessarily are byproducts of following your calling and passion more closely. There's money to be made in doing stuff that's not necessarily my passion. Right? But I still want to do it because I want to make money. Or I might want to take on a project that allows me to gain more visibility, but not a project I particularly care about, but gives me more visibility. So why the hell not? It might be about, talking about celebrities for 15 minutes on some big channel or something. Fine, I'll do it. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, I never claimed your type until now. I held until Back into Future Observation. You have an entire channel, female NTP. Even when they have no alcohol drugs, they seem like they're constantly storing cocaine, which is weird because it's the complete opposite of an INTP. Love them, though. I mean, I've encountered a few of them. Somehow, they have, this is the thing they have, is they do have that passion, and they've got that clarity about their passion and their conviction and their true path and stuff like that. And if they get on the right one and follow it with their full passion and conviction, then probably it will lead to fame and money for them. It probably is the right path for an ESFP, Right. I'm not into subtypes yet. At least, put it this way. There may be good reason to classify a given type into descriptive subtypes, saying you're broadly likely to identify more with one of these expressions of the type broadly. As long as if there's not any mechanics to it, then it's fine. I don't mind it being possible to taxonomy within a set. That's fine. It's the mechanics part of the subtypes that I don't like. And so saying that my daughter's an ENTP with FE subtype, I think that the idea of the subtypes is deceptive because I think she's an ESTP, period. And as an ESTP, I got to see it in action with the identity theft thing with my parents. Her fourth slot NI is not as good as my fifth slot NI. She doesn't know when something's really determinate. She still had a little bit of that paranoia, like, well, I don't know for sure what's compromised, that goes along with NI weak. And you're wrong about her TI, though, Fate Wind. That's the interesting thing, is her TI is just as good as mine. Every spec is good as mine. I mean, I've sat there and did a logic homework with her, and we were neck and neck finishing the problems independently of each other, because she took conditional logic last year or something in college. Can you give a brief summary of NE versus NI? NE is everything that's not. So, brief summary. Expert intuition is a cognitive process of being that generates novelty on the metaphysical plane, which is to say, it's about new talking. And NI is about looking at all the new talking here and distilling down singular universals from it at its root. But there's lots of it's complicated. I don't really have a simple explanation like that. They operate as values depending on where they are in the stack. So it's difficult to talk about them in isolation. Sometimes you got to sort of put it in a slot to really understand how it's working. It's hard to do. That would mean my NE is better than my SE. How far can you follow your shadows till they're worse than your fourth slot? I think your fifth and sixth and eighth are all better than your fourth slot, and your seventh is worse. Your 4 and your 7 are your two weak spots, your weakest. Your third and your sixth are about equally weak. 5, 8, 1, and 2 are all strong. Eric, how would you appeal to an ENTP in paying back money they have borrowed? You simply tell them, you still owe me that money, and I need you to pay it back so I don't have to talk to you about this again. and also so that you don't have to face the realities argumentationally of not having paid me back should anything related come up. That should do the job. Hi, Abraham.
Hi, Eric. Who's here? We're all here.
Who? Oh, hey! You look so different with a beard on you.
Right? So I'm going to copy the man himself.
Fucking, hold on a second. Don't tell me. I'm trying to remember your name, which is remarkable. I can't remember it because, don't tell me. Don't fucking tell me. I'm going to remember this. You're that, yeah, you have a weird name. Edward Kunkel.
There I go. Yeah.
I got it.
How you been, Eric?
I've been good. Kunkel here is an old assistant coach of mine. Worked with Abraham. Now I believe he's a captain of industry. Yeah. I believe he's an ENTJ. Kunkel is right. Hey, look, Zach's here. Zach knows Kunkel. Kunkel and Zach and Abraham were all in Utah together.
Oh
with
my
me.
God, yeah. He had one fucking spirit off ice and he was tripping. That was great.
That is kind of great.
Do you think Kunkel is an ESTJ?
I mean, I haven't talked to him in a long time. He's either ESTJ or ENTJ, I would say.
Look, that's opposite, man. The thing is, he did say ENTJ, but I just feel like I conflict with the ENTJs all the time. Like, we're really good friends. That's like shit.
Zach is not an ENFP. Zachary is an INTP, no matter what the fuck he says. He likes to try to say sometimes that he's something else. Yeah. He's an INTP. He's got to be. The only other thing he could possibly be is INFJ, but I don't think so. I think he's an INTP. Yes, Fate Wind. Abraham's an ESFJ. Zachary, you son of a bitch, you are not an ISFJ. You can take that ISFJ line of bullshit and shove it up your ass. No way in hell you're an ISFJ.
Zachary who?
Host Zachary.
Oh.
The one, the only host Zachary.
There's a lot of Zacharys.
How would you differentiate NI versus TI in its search for truth? Is NI universal and TI singular? TI applies a universal metric to a particularist instance. NI takes particularist instances and turns them into universals. So if you're checking for the validity of something, you're going to use a universal metric validity to check the logical consistency of some sort of argumentation chain. That's TI applying the universal to a particular situation. NI, on the other hand, takes a bunch of particular situations and draws from them where the universal link is. Let's talk about memories and how we feel about them. I agree, Zach. I feel moist inside when I think about the dampness of our memories.
Hold that one light.
Kimberly does. Kimberly comes around. Kimberly posts on in her Facebook ISFJ group. She mixes it up sometimes. She gets downright fighty up in that place. I'll tell you.
Take a few small hits.
She gets offended by anybody who says shit about like how. Like one of the things that offended her the most was when somebody said, "I used to be a something, and then I got damaged, and now I'm an ISFJ." That pissed Kimberly off a lot. So it suggested ISFJs are the result of damage. It is alpha mania around here. You're very private, ISFP Jim. Jim's an ISFP. He's very private, and so are his private parts. So please stop staring at his private parts. Ladies.
Already be cherry. So I'm gonna have to light it. Put your thumb in the fire control.
And any auxiliary doing a poo-poo. Any auxiliary, that's the third slot, right? I am becoming a professional at this at Fate Wind, so eventually I will have my own theory developed on how cognition works. It has been in progress over a year. Just because your duel hasn't fallen into your lap from the sky doesn't mean ISFJs live under rocks. I see Zachary is affording you the status you claim with your name, so congratulations. I think you're ISFP too, Jim. I do. I think it with my brain. I use my brain to do my thinking these days. I stopped using my dick when I got with Kimberly. That's what I used to use to do my thinking. As you see, I've got young people over here. Why? Because I'm cool. That's why. So young people come in and hang out with me. They're really here to hang out with Spacey, but, you know, I like to pretend.
I'm cool.
This is a weird question, but if you could only choose one, would you rather have a blowjob or be the president of the United States of America?
It's about the same thing now.
I mean, if I have to give up BJ's to become president, that's fine.
Uncle said it's kind of the same thing.
No big deal. I give up BJ's to become president. Kimberly doesn't provide that very often anyway.
Joey, you should be in the shed with 3 young dudes.
Yeah. I'm not in a shed, Joey. I'm in a garage. Big difference.
Yeah, but a shed sounds creepier.
David Kepke. David Kepke says hi, Abraham.
Hey, what's up, man?
He says, hey, what's up, man?
Or did you go hang out with David Kepke?
Spacey's here as well, you know. I don't know if you met Spacey when you were here or not.
There was
Willie Clinton, Slick Willie Clinton got both, but the hypothetical here is specifically about if I had to give up one for all time, I would take president for blowjobs any day, sure. I don't need blowjobs that bad.
because I used the word bro.
What's that guy studying at USC? Nothing. He's a laborer. He's not studying at USC. He probably just is a USC football fan.
You might catch me working at USC
Might catch him working at USC.
at the new Dr. Dre facility that they're building.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, indeed, quite so. Just so, as they say in England. All right, so we're talking about paths, Kunkel.
Here, Eric, hit that.
Yes, I will, and then I'll pass it. Do you need a new path? Is the right path for you the one you're currently on, or need you seek a new path to become the kind of guy who is walking on the right path?
I'm currently like at like a crossroads of 2 paths, and like I'm just kind of evaluating what's stronger. But, yeah.
Which path is
Well-
more appealing?
Well, I have to figure out what's more valuable.
Take that with us.
How do you determine value? Path value. How do you weigh the value of a path?
I have no fucking idea. Like at the moment, I got no clue. Like I'm trying to figure out, like, you know, the value between 2 things right now. Do I like making a lot of money, or do I like making a long-term investment that can get me a lot of money? You know, and so yeah, that's kind of what I'm weighing right now. Yeah.
I'm not.
I see.
Why do you think I look high as fuck?
Is one of your possible paths being neck deep in pussy? And if so, would that make the choice harder?
Being neck deep in pussy. Probably. Yeah, I guess.
How about eyebrow deep in pussy? Is that too deep in pussy?
It might be too deep in pussy.
Okay, I was thinking the same
Probably
thing.
unhealthy.
You don't want it
That's really
covering your
pussy.
mouth and nose. You won't be able to breathe. Okay, so let's see.
Here's the thing. Sometimes pussy smells really bad.
A path is valuable to me if it leads to the ultimate fulfillment in 3 areas: health, wealth, and family. A path is valuable to me if it doesn't lead directly off of a cliff. I don't like paths that lead off of cliffs.
Okay, but I think it's pretty true.
Yeah, well, sculling is the next step up from fisting, Joey Jojo Chavadis.
Sculling? What is that?
It's when the pussy's so good that you just have to put your whole head.
Yeah, you put your whole head up in there.
It's like you ever see that cartoon where it's like a fucking turkey lands on its head? That's what it fucking looks like.
Well, Alexandra has discovered that sometimes it's hard to tell when I'm high or when I'm just not here. part of the reason I smoke so much weed is because it kind of meshes with my normal state of mind pretty easily.
Is Brittany fighting on your channel?
Was Karl Marx an INTJ? No, I think Karl Marx was either an ENTJ or an ENFJ with polar SI. And that's why his work's such a shit show.
What?
So my NI is ignoring, therefore I don't value trajectory. I see it, I know it, but I know what I have to do and don't have to do to make it to go. Brittany. Fate Win says, I wouldn't be invited to the Alpha Slumber Party, would I? Yeah, you'd be invited. I don't know. Are you hot? Are you hot? Maybe. I am now that I've got these sunglasses on.
You know, especially if you're not hot, so we don't have to be fucking all the time.
Yeah, that'll just make us feel bad. As you come over to visit and then you find some other random dude from the city that we don't know and bring him home and fuck him.
Oh, shit.
We just be like, damn, you're making us feel bad. How can you keep a path from burning out? That's a good question, Zachary. I would say that it's got to be a path that's got endless different manifestations to it and allows you somehow to switch between them as you see fit. If you're an ENTP anyway. And so for me, that means YouTube. I can go through a long stretch of time where I just do live streaming like I am right now, basically. I haven't made any regular videos in quite a while. I like live streaming. It's easy, it's fun. And, you know, I seem to get a fair number of people participating in them. I don't know if it's going to grow or not, but it's what I'm doing right now. Is it a path? No, that's the key thing. It's not really a path. The path is YouTube. And the specific course of that path is infinitely variable. So it allows me to continue to walk this path over and over again, time after time, day after day, talking about different shit. I don't know what video idea you're talking about, philosophical thinker. NTP don't care much about F5, beauty moth to a flame, host Eric. Oh. Yeah, I don't care about physical looks very much, actually, to be honest. It doesn't matter to me. It's like, it seems irrelevant. Yes, we do look high and dead inside. It's just because we're in our heads unless we're drunk or high.
Well, yeah, we got high to deal with being dead inside, clearly.
It's basically an air freshener that prevents your inside death from smelling of the room.
Yes, exactly.
If our path is burning out, find some fucking water. If a path is burning out for you, chances are, well, I mean, it depends. It's like any given path, quote unquote, that an INTP is going to take, provided it's a steady path that's persistent, they're going to burn out on it soon enough. They need more variation than that. They can't take any job that doesn't offer endless variation, really. They're going to get tired of it after a couple of weeks, probably. Whatever.
Yeah, Alexandra, an INTP who's interested in aesthetics and physical looks is not going to be interested in that in a superficial way. I'm sure you get very in-depth about the particulars of what makes things look good.
Well, I think we're talking about people. Alexander Cruz is saying, you got to be hot to get with me. And I'm saying you don't to get with me. But it's probably because I, for a long time had very low self-image regarding my own reproductive viability. And I never really shook that fundamental sense of identity as being not very reproductively viable, certainly not attractive to women. It probably, it was different last time I was dating, but I don't like dating. I never learned how to do it right. I don't like things that are emotionally undefined. I need whatever the relationship is at with somebody needs to be immediately and completely defined forever. So that's kind of, yeah. Not just people, but a person's home, the way a building looks, things need to have some sort of elegance, IMO. I mean, ideally they would, right? It would be preferable to a complete lack of elegance, the indignity of squalor, is less good than elegance. But you know, that's my rap name.
Got me in a horrible angle.
The indignity of squalor.
It'll be you.
Me. And you, Tech. Together with
Sometimes
me.
they call me Lowell, the indignity of squalor.
That's not good.
But there's some objectivity in beauty, aka hotness.
Yeah,
Sure,
but-
there is. What type is the guy sitting next to Spacey? Either ESTJ or ENTJ. I'm not sure.
Considering that, because it's better.
It's not no girls allowed camp. People, in fact, it's mostly girls who come to the camp. Seems like, you know. Susie came to the camp. Becky came to the camp. Who else came to the camp? Again,
Dude, I'm telling you, it's hard to shock.
Spacey,
somebody who doesn't-
and forgot about him. Girls are allowed for sure. Kimberly wants to have
Opposite red.
friends too, you know. What was the camp? It was come hang out at my house for a week or something. It happened in June. It kind of blew up into a big drama fest. Unfortunately, it wasn't my desire, but shit happens, you know. Officer Red started shit as usual. And
Gosh, he really lets you hold her like that, huh?
she's a good chicken friend.
No, she won't let me hold her for more than like 5 seconds.
Kim's not here. Kim's working today. I just have these gentlemen here. Did I record any of it? No, not really any of the drama. And the other thing that happened is shortly after the week, my summer camp week, what happened? My laptop broke. When I had already moved all the videos from the phone to the laptop, then the laptop broke. So I do have them on this hard drive over here that Spacey pulled out of the other laptop, but getting them is a little bit more of a challenge than it might normally be. So I probably just, I don't know if I'm going to put any shit up for that week or not.
You still have your bong?
Yeah, that was good. And my bong is on the front step. Do you know where the bong is, Spacey?
No.
Kim hid it somewhere.
It must be on the porch somewhere.
I have to wait for Kim to finish with this client.
Oh,
But we need
I
a new,
just wanted
we need a
to
new bowl for it still anyway, right?
allow people to see some memorable nostalgia.
SI user would say.
Remember those days?
SI user would say what?
This is the first thing I ever hit, technically.
That's the first time.
No, it was the first thing I've ever, it's the first bowl we'd ever smelled.
Oh,
An
yeah.
SI user probably wouldn't sit all day at home and play video games. SE user would want to do stuff, right?
Usually more like uptight when you're younger.
No, I mean, well, like SI in the third slot is very likely to sit home all day and play video games. SI in the fourth slot is fairly likely to as well.
You've seen shows that look like it's kind of a recent development.
Because I'm Fate Wind and I'll do what I want. Fuck yeah, Fate Wind. I appreciate that statement. That's the sort of thing I like to hear out of somebody's mouth. Evaluate presidential candidates. Me, qualified. Everybody else, garbage. All right, I gotta go. I'm tired of live streaming now because I got other shit I gotta do, and I got these people here, and I'll see you all later. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese, and peace out, as the young people say.